And our journey begins now at the borders of Wales, entering into the land of Herefordshire. With its rolling green hills, we now enter the land of beautiful trees, of mystery, of secrets to be told. And the land of the trees and the greenery hosts to a little village where our search begins at Kilpeck, at the village at Kilpeck Church. And here, the church dating back to Norman times, with architect of Romanesque. The church is bound as the eaves tell the stories of these beautiful corbels, symbolic icons of different imageries, icons of animals. 89 in total, but the one we search for is here now. Hello and welcome to Kilpeck Church, the first of our many journeys of searching for Sheila. So to begin with, it is a beautiful sunny day here today, and I hope that what I'm going to show you, the camera will pick it up very, very clearly. So let's begin. So we start now at the beginning of the doorway to this church. And if I just zoom in a little bit, you can see what I imagine to be the tree of life. Some people say it is, some people say it isn't, but for me that is the tree of life. And as I just move the cameras around now, I'm just going to zoom out. You can see up the eaves there are corbels, different icons. There are 89 of these beautiful corbels going around this lovely church, the church that dates back to Norman times. But the main corbel we're looking for is just around this corner. And here she is, Sheila in a gig. Takes beautiful presence here, as you can see. I always think this Sheila is always grinning at me, which I just love. Her energy she gives off is amazing. And many people say she was put here to ward off lots of evil spirits, but we all know that she's here for other reasons. As we know, she represents birth, life, death and rebirth. And this beautiful Sheila has been standing for a very, very long time. And if I can just walk backwards just to show you. There, that's better. You can actually see her in all her glory. Her energy is amazing, as I said. And if you do get a chance to come into Kilpeck, it's well worth just to sit underneath her and just let her energy flow through you. Sheila in a gig, her presence just so beautiful. Her energy is just flowing. And I'm just going to say a little prayer to say thank you to Sheila, because she probably is one of my favourite Sheilas, if I'm really honest. And so join with me now and close your eyes. Just feel her energy flowing through you. Thank you. Thank you for still being there, for looking upon us and showing us the way. Blessed Sheila, Sheila in a gig. May you always be there for us all. Thank you. And blessed be. So our next journey of discovering and searching for Sheila will take me to a small village still in the heart of Herefordshire, to a little village called Bredwardine. So, continuing the search, come journey with me. And as we travel through the Golden Valley in Herefordshire, the land opens up to many forested areas of beauty, areas of old, and also areas of memories. We drop down into the little village of Bredwardine, and here the church dating back to the Norman times is where we will find our next Sheila Dwells. And welcome now to the little village of Bredwardine, and here is our next journey to see where Sheila Dwells is, in this little church. So I'm just going to turn the camera around so you can see. And here she is. This is the Sheila Dwells in the little church of St Andrews, Bredwardine in Herefordshire. As you can see, the doorway is blocked now. The church is of Norman era, and if I just zoom in, you can see her a little bit better. There you go. So the first instance you see is that you see Sheila and you think, like many of you people have thought, she's got large ears, which resembles a monkey type ears. But to me, I think that's like a headdress. A lot of people have said it is a headdress. Some think it's maybe monkey ears, but to me it looks like a headdress, with a hand raised up and the other hand just touching the breast and her legs opened. She is definitely a Sheila Dwells. What I get from this Sheila, energy-wise, is just pure love. Love, as in she just emanates so much love and passion out to all those who come to view her. And you can just feel that when you're here. I can feel that here. And I just feel the love she gives to everybody, has from the beginning until the end. And then obviously rebirth, the love she gives you back again. So this is Sheila Dwells of Bredwardine. She's also been known as Sheila of the Baskervilles. And the reason for that being is that obviously the land was owned by the Baskervilles family, I believe. And she was obviously named after them as Sheila of the Baskervilles. Nothing to do with hounds, but I think it's a name which has just continued with her. So this is Sheila, and I'm going to make a very small little offering, my offering of love to her. So this is my offering now of some beautiful yellow petals from some daffodils I brought up with me. My offering to you, Sheila Dwells. For me, you just emanate out beautiful love. So I'm just going to throw them in the pathway of the door. And this is love and blessings to you, for all you give. I'm just holding that thought now, feeling that love that Sheila gives out to everyone. Blessed be. So if you manage to ever come past this way in Herefordshire, come visit the little Sheila Dwells at Bredwardine and feel her love, for it's so welcoming and refreshing. So the journey continues now, and we continue to Shropshire. And as we travel now through the beautiful hills of Shropshire, we drop down into the village of Church Stretton. And here, in this beautiful village, a little church hosts our next Sheila Ngig. And here we are now with our next Sheila Ngig at the little village of Church Stretton. I'm just going to turn the camera around so you can see her. And this 14th century church with the doorway dating back to Norman time, which is now blocked off, is where we find our next Sheila Ngig. And here she is. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. Now she's quite weathered, as you can see. She's quite faded, but definitely showing Sheila Ngig in all her beauty. And this, for me, this Sheila Ngig is giving me the energy of transition, the transition of what she represents as in death. And it's interesting to know that if you look at her, even though she's faded, you can still make out where her arms are, her legs apart, and her vulva. And someone's actually put little stones actually in her vulva, which if I zoom in you can see. And if I was able to, I would be able to pick them out, but I can't reach them. And I think that's quite sad they've done that, because that's the passageway, as far as I'm concerned, of transition, of what makes this now a very interesting Sheila Ngig. If I just zoom back out and just take a few steps backwards, it's interesting to know that she is actually positioned on top of the doorway, which is actually known as the corpse doorway, and this would have been the passage for bringing in the dead and taking out the dead. So how appropriate for her to be like the guardian, should we say, of the passage into death and then into rebirth. She is beautiful. She is full of everything I imagined her to be. And I'm just going to take that moment of stillness. So come take that moment of stillness with me as we just look upon her. And how amazing is that? The bells are ringing for her as we have that stillness. Even much better than I thought it would be. So, just let the bells toll. And this is Sheila Ngig of Church Stretton. Beautiful. And blessed be to you. So the next part of our journey is still in Shropshire, and we're going to be heading down into Tagford. Hopefully the church we're going to see there now, where our next Sheila Ngig is, will be available for us to get to, because it is off the beaten path. So continuing the search for Sheila. And as we travel further on down through the hills into the little village of Tagford, we search for now our next Sheila Ngig. So here we are at the village of Tagford, and just behind me you can see I have to go across this gate through a field to get to our next destination where our Sheila Ngig will be. So I shall now just venture across the field and meet you at the little church. So here we are at the Church of St. Catherine's at Tagford, and I'm just going to switch the camera around because the Sheila Ngig we're going to see will be revealed in a minute. And we're at the front of the church now, and usually Sheila Ngigs are usually on the outside walls of most churches, but in this case they're actually inside. So we're just going to pop inside now the church to see. And we have come through the doorway of the church, and we are approached not by one Sheila but two Sheila Nagigs. They are known as the sister Sheila Nagigs. They are just above the eaves of the door as people would walk through. And I'm just going to zoom in so you can see the first one. And this Sheila Nagig, it is on its side, but it's just beautiful, just laying there. A lovely Sheila Nagig. Beautiful energy. I get the energy of birth, beginning. And if I pop across to the other side, I see her sister Sheila. Again, a beautiful, beautiful Sheila Nagig, but completely different. This gives me the energy, the presence of rebirth. If you look at this Sheila, if I can focus and zoom in at the same time, the face is actually showing a tongue, and it's very similar to a tongue from the goddess Kali, and that would indicate to me, like I said, rebirth, a very positive, strong presence of the Sheila Nagig, just beautiful in every respect. And between them both, and I'm just going to zoom back out again, between them both, as they are where they are positioned on the front of the door, it gives you the indication of these Sheila Nagigs of birth and rebirth, the balance of life. And how beautiful is that? So just bearing that in mind, everybody who walks through this door will have that flow, the flow of Sheila Nagig flowing through them. So thank you both sisters Sheila Nagig, for giving this to everyone. Thank you. Blessed be. So our next journey takes us again through the Shropshire Hills, just to a little village, just down the road to Holsgate, where we're going to meet our final Sheila Nagig. Our journey takes us down through winding roads, dropping down into the village of Holsgate. And here is our next Sheila Nagig. And here we are at our final destination at Holsgate Church. And I'm just going to switch the camera around once again to show you this beautiful Sheila Nagig. And here she is, Sheila Nagig, Holsgate Church. She is one of the largest Sheila Nagigs. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. She is beautiful, very different, because if you look at her, she symbolises everything: birth, life, death and rebirth. If you look at her knees, which opens up to a large cavity underneath, symbolising a squatting position of giving birth. And if you look at her face, her mouth is the infinity symbol of the life cycle. This Sheila Nagig gives a beautiful presence of everything which she represents. As I said, one of the largest Sheila Nagig. And she sits here as the sun is now starting to come down, and she is just so beautiful. I'm going to go back a little bit so you can see. As I say, you can actually see the dark cavity underneath her knees, and to me that is like her giving birth, the deepness of giving birth. And she just is beautiful. And as I am talking now, I can hear a bee just buzzing around her. I'm not sure if you're picking that up, and that finalises everything for me, just seeing a bee round her. So this is Sheila Nagig, and one of the most amazing, largest Sheila Nagigs I have seen. Sheila Nagig, thank you for your beautiful life cycle you give to us all. Thank you, and blessed be. And so we come to the end of our journey, the search for Sheila Nagig. I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as I have, and I encourage you now to go out into your area and search for Sheila the gig. And in closing, I'd like you just to consider this. Sheila the gig, very popular around the churches. Popular also when goddess worship was being eradicated across Europe. Are these the last defiant images of the power of women? Power usurped by the misogynistic politics of the Christian church. And yet, she is still here, Sheila the gig. Blessed be.